I was talking up front to Jason, who's head of our customer care group, and he's surprised how many folks are first-time buyers making the leap. And I think a little bit of that is just the segment. It's growing 30%. And I think we're catching some of those leapers because they feel really good with what they've heard from other customers.
Hey everyone, so I am here with Nick from Coachman. You're familiar with Nick.
Yeah.
He's a general manager for the Class B division.
Yep.
And so we're going to chat a little bit about the Class B lineup and just general questions.
Well, thank you for having me. It's about time I get on. You and I do some emailing back and forth, and you are really pushing me to kind of rethink maybe some power beds. I know in Scott's podcast somebody misheard me and said we're going to be going to more power beds. Well, we already got the power beds.
Right.
We want after this rally I'm going to do a couple questionnaires. What would be the perfect fixed bed in a Ford height so we can get what we all carry, whether e-bikes or whatever. And we're gonna, I think the fixed bed is our next stepping stone.
Yeah.
So if you misheard me on Scott stuff, she was on there. You struggled through me, messing up my phone, no internet. My wife and I just watched that the other night, and she goes, "Nick, there's a bug flying around your face," and then I go, Jennifer, I'm spitting everywhere. So anyway, a lot of fun. You and Scott and that group are important to me, just like everybody, and. It's about time I'm on this, and thank you for giving me some ideas.
Well, thanks for taking the time.
And then we emailed most recently back about the best folding interior partition for a shower, and we both kind of stumbled on some pretty cool ideas, and I think the last one we both agreed on was pretty thumbs up. It really worked well, so it's not going to be here tomorrow, not going to be here next week, just give me some time, okay?
Yeah, keep an eye out for things. Yeah, because
beautiful van, by the way, beautiful Beyond.
Thank you. Yeah,
awesome.
I love my Beyond. I mean, it's
And what channel are we on?
This is Beyond the Fern.
Perfect. Perfect.
And if anybody, I don't know if I've ever really explained it to people, but it's my van's name is Fern, and so instead of saying Fern the Beyond, we were playing around saying Beyond the Fern.
I love it.
I don't know how creative it was, but
awesome.
So some of the things I kind of wanted to talk about were like kind of where the Class B division was when you took over, and kind of like where it is now, because it's really, even since I first started looking at them, it seems like it's really kind of expanded quite a bit.
So I used to be in fifth wheels. I was worked my way up to sales manager. Been in fifth wheels since mid 2000s. Okay, worked at a Thor company. My dad had a RV place, and we tried to float it ourselves, and it just didn't work out. Learned a lot. That's kind of where I learned about quality, added value. You don't just have to copy. You can do it you can copy a little bit, but do it your way.
Right.
And adding a lot of value. I think all of our lineup, Nova, Beyond, Galleria, have a ton of value. So worked my way up to the sales manager position at Chaparral for Coachman, and we did really good, and we came out with some real tricky floor plans, but I was designing 42-foot fifth wheels with 4 or 5 slides, and I could sit down on a residential couch, and so around this drove me nuts, their timing. So I get a call before Christmas. Who wants to get that call, right?
Right.
And it was very fortunate, so I'm making somewhat light of it. Hey, Nick, I want you to come up here, and that's Mike Turlip at the time, the president of the company. I'm like, oh, what did you do? What did you do? I'm pretty sure I've done everything right. Go over your list. What have you messed up? Because he's going to know. So I get prepped and go up there, and he goes, we've been talking, and your old GM suggested that I talk to you. I'm just not happy at the direction of where the Class B is going. And in defense to the last GM, Class Bs were just really starting to launch. Like Winnebago had theirs. Thor wasn't even building Class Bs. There was Winnebago, Pleasureway, Midwest, and a couple other obscure Road Trek at the time.
Right.
And so, he told me, we want you to run the division, and I've never been a GM. So number one, very intimidated, and and I was like, what division are you talking about? And he goes, you do understand we have a Class B division here, don't you? I go, oh, that was those vans driving around here? And I joked around a little bit because one of my best friends works for Midwest Vans.
Right.
And I'll tell you a little bit about him once I get deeper in the story. So I go, Mike, it is mid-December. It's 22 degrees out. I'm in your office, and I'm pitting out over this conversation. So we were talking about being hot earlier, so it swings both ways, and this was in the winter. So I was like, man, I don't even want to go in one of those things. And I'd been in a couple of the limo vans that Midwest has built, and I was just really nervous because I didn't know. I knew nothing. I knew nothing, and I couldn't understand that somebody would buy something without a slide out.
Right.
I asked them a couple questions. I go, okay, whose idea is this? And they're like, it's mine and the head man in charge. I go, okay, so you guys are hyper successful. You're multi-millionaire, and that's not just his status. He's been at Coachman for 37 years, only job. Incredible to say, right out of high school, and worked there his whole career. Pete, very successful businessman in Elkhart County, multi-billionaire. I was like, hey, this is the idea you two hyper-talented men came up with.
Right.
And you want me, who, the last van I was in had velour seats and shag walls and stuff. And I'm, somewhat being serious. And I said, look, I need some time. He goes, well, the clock's ticking. And he goes, I want you to go out and get in a van. And I remember I didn't even know where these vans were located, and I went and looked at one. I was like, okay. So I called my buddy Jason, who's been around high-end conversions and Midwest vans, and he did a lot of the limo stuff. And I was like, okay.
And those were all sprinters, right?
Yep, all sprinters, all sprinter-based. And they do some other stuff, but mainly all sprinter-based. And so I pulled up the stats. I go, can somebody give me some stats? Let me see where this segment's been. And I looked, and, even from like 2015, well before I even knew anything, 30% increase. Year over year over year. And I'm like, whoa, I thought my segment was the largest segment. We're getting 4 to 5% increases, but and sometimes a decrease the other way. But this was consistent 30% increase every year. And I'm like, what is going on here? Pick up the phone, call my buddy, and said, what's going on with these B vans? Well, it's different clientele. These are individuals that want to find other friends, other places. It's something like I've never seen, Nick.
Yeah.
I go, so? He goes, I would say go for it. I was like, oh man, I was kind of hoping you'd say something different, bud. So then I went home to the wife at the time and said, I'm really scared. And because it was the next conversation, if I didn't say yes, they were going to say, you don't have an answer.
Right.
It is only yes.
Right, right.
And I love the company I work for, so I was happy to shut up, zip your lip, put it in your pocket, and go to work.
Yep.
So Christmas stunk because I accepted the job. And, my wife's like, you are so quiet. I'm like, I'm freaking out. I don't like not to know,
Right.
It's just not good. So started January 4th, 2017. Very lucky too, looking back. The best opportunity I've ever had in my life. And so show up. Tampa show starts in like 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so I go to the office. I move stuff out of my old office over to the new office, and I'm looking around, introducing myself, and call Mike Turlip. I go, hey, there's no warranty manager here. He goes, I know, you're the warranty manager.
Oh boy.
I go, wait a second. I signed up to be the GM. He goes, you need to trust me. And I joke about it, for an Italian guy to trust an Irishman's kind of, we joke in jest.
Yeah.
That decision is a lot of the reason why you folks like buying from us. I didn't know how to do my job. I just said, yes, I will fix it. Give me 24 hours and we'll do the right thing. I didn't know how to process it. I mean, I think if they would have looked at my books, they were like, how come you gave away all these parts? Well, I didn't even know how to process anything. Anyway, I made it through and got a warranty manager. And we continued that, and we started growing, but it was still tough. Huge company, but nobody really knew anything about our B vans. And I don't want to take anything away from the previous GM. I got to come in and be a backseat driver. At the end of the day, I got to come in and fix a platform that was already there.
Right.
For instance, and I will joke about this about the old GM. So now we're at Tampa Show. My first Tampa Show Class Bs were with General RV, and I've got a notebook of some shorts and some Vans on, and a hat on, and a little fishing shirt on, and I go to Winnebago training, and I lean up against a Winnebago, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and I'm not in the training, I'm within earshot.
Right.
And I'm like, ooh, that's pretty cool. Ooh, that's some good stuff. And then I went to another guy. And then this was dealer days. So a very large dealership, huge dealership. We can talk about who this dealership is. You probably get an idea who it is. They come to me and say, hey, you're the new GM of Coachman Class Bs, right? I go, yes, sir. And they're like, well, we're not happy that Mike Turlip hired a towable guy to be the B van. I go, you know what? This is not the first time I've heard this.
Right,
and they were like, what? I get it, Look, guys, my job is to impress my boss. First of all, impress my wife, my boss, his boss, my customers, and then you. And, I might fail, but I'm pretty stubborn. And, so we reflect on that every now and then with this dealership. But it really let me know, okay, a lot of people depending on me. I think we had 19 line employees at the time. We were doing one a day of Galleria.
So it was
Galleria that's what we started on, Galleria, yep. And then that first Tampa show, we had some Gallerias there. I had some conversations with a gentleman. Email, I didn't even know, is the new CrossFit 22D going to be at the Tampa show? Yeah, I know it's going to be there. And I didn't even get a chance to get in it because it's already down at Tampa before I even started, And so I get down there, and it's the old, what they did is they put a pantry, full-length pantry down here.
Wow.
So the beds were hyper tiny this way.
Oh, wow.
You don't sleep this way in a Transit.
Right.
Unless you have a bump out and that platform needs to come over here.
Right.
So, getting ridiculed, telling people are saying you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, fine, I've heard enough. Then all of a sudden, this guy comes, Walker. He's got his, tennis balls, and he's sweating. Are you Nick? I go, yeah, I'm Nick. I'm like, oh gosh, here he is. He goes, I just paid $25 in parking. I just walked on a walker for 25 minutes. The damn trolley isn't running. And I come here, and this bed, I couldn't even fit my dog on it. Oh. And he was right. And so I do joke to the last GM, he's about this tall. He built it for him and his family, and he built one for him. Because they were all like this tall.
Right, right.
So my boss walks by and goes, how's the show? I go, well, this thing's a flop. And he goes, well, fix it. I go, I didn't build it. He goes, no, I'm telling you to fix it. I go, okay. So I called up the plant manager, John, who's running around. I go, John, this isn't going to work. We need to get rid of the lower unit of the pantry, stretch this forward, and I need it to happen tomorrow. So that's kind of where listening started.
Right.
And then we just kept on listening, and then that was when we built the first group of CrossFits, and I think most everybody knows about the CrossFit story. Super cool story. Led us to one of the best brand names I think there is, and that's Beyond.
Yeah.
My boss at the time, I told him the name after we got sued, and he goes, I hate it. And he goes, that's not even a marketing. He goes, you obviously didn't go to school for marketing. I go, well, I don't mean to disappoint you, but I didn't graduate college. You're telling me? And he's hyper into education. Education builds major character. You can get character from all different avenues in life, in my opinion. You just don't have to go to college. He got over that I didn't go to college, and we just kept on grinding. And one thing bad, and for these guys will never hear it. I found myself with with sales guys that were on their way out.
Right.
And I was the last stop for these sales guys who have given a good chunk of their life to Forest River, and then I would get them. And they're ex-motorized guys. And So I get back from Tampa. They get with boss man and say, we don't think Nick's going to work out. We want to have a big conference room. And I'm like, okay. Mike goes, I don't know what's going on here. What did you do last week? I go, I didn't do anything. I was in the office for 2 days since I got the job outside of Florida.
Right.
So we go up in his conference room, and he goes, okay, you guys called. Turtle goes, you guys called the meeting. What do you got? He's right there. What makes you think that you know anything about motorized? I go, well, you didn't know how to walk. We're all walking today. It's an RV. It's a box, and you draw it on a napkin, and you come up with better ideas, and you take all the napkins and do exactly what they've done all their career.
Right.
And I said, is that the answer? And we're wasting time. We've got an opportunity here. Let's go. So dust settled. Still, these guys were in a very comfort zone, a big comfort zone, and I mentioned that I love fishing, and even though I think I'm a really good fisherman, you always can find a better trick to rig a hook, tie a knot, all this stuff, and those folks were influencing me every day in my purchases, and my wife caught wind of a video, and she says, if you're going to go to Lake Michigan by yourself in October when it's snowing, when the type of fish you want bite, I want you to get this particular boat because it's got foam filled in it. And I know you won't drown by yourself because you don't like taking anybody with you. So added value, right?
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? And I got a wind of because there wasn't a lot of YouTube, like James and Steph a little bit back then.
Yeah.
Mike Wendland. There was a couple others, but nobody mainstream like we have a whole deck of cards today. And I was like, So we did, one of the first times I got in trouble with YouTube was I invited James and Steph from Fit RV to our plant. And turned in a big bunch of receipts. We flew them in. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I mean that with all utmost respect. They taught me a lot. James,
they had one of the early Travados, right?
Yeah. He had a yellow one. I forget what their name.
Yeah.
I forget the name. Pearl. I don't know. I can't remember the name. But I watched a couple of his videos. He had installed a Lithionics battery, not a 630. I don't even know if it was a 600 at the time. It could have been a 600. Lance was the name of the van.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a little seat facing forward, and I think they dropped their Lithionics battery in there. And I'm like, So we had a little bit in common. I met him at my first or second Tampa show, and they had very kind words, very intrigued by us using Lithionics, and invited him out. And then the week later, I turned in receipts, and my boss like, I'm not paying for this. You invited Winnebago and back. I go, but they got their own show too. And I was like, that thing's going to hit 100,000 views. He goes, what thing? I go, the video. On what? YouTube, man. I go, so within about 6 months, 87,000 views. And I go, the views are awesome, but I watch the videos, but I also love the comments. And like when I was learning about Class Bs, cut and paste till about 3 a.m. Chat rooms, cut and paste. Back then I was really going bumping heads against Road Trek heavily because they had their E-Trek system, their lithium system. And so, so we started pushing more on YouTube, and I just lightened some stuff up, made some stuff more modern, got to meet some customers, and that was really big. When that I'm never going to be able to spend as much time as you guys do in these, and when I do, I'm going to be pretty much worthless because I'll be unemployed. I'm going to be retired and having fun, and maybe I'll kick some stuff back to the next guy in charge.
Right.
But then met Dean and met Bruce Nelson and met Gardner, and now and everybody would kindly, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And sometimes I'd have to say no. No's not a bad word, as long as you vet it and you really rattle the Folgers can full of bolts. Really, are we talking about this, or are we being lazy and saying no? You know what I mean? Are we actually putting any energy into this? So we tried a lot of things, and the big thing that got us on the map was our cabinetry across the board. At Nova wasn't out yet, and some people absolutely loved our cabinetry, but a lot of people were unsure of our cabinetry because everything was HPL, Road Trek, Winnebago. Pleasure Way was still hardwood, but it was a different residential grade cabinetry wasn't put in a B van yet.
Yeah.
And the previous GM and plant manager thought that to be the right thing, and it was. And it was. It just needed a couple tweaks. When I looked at the bill of material, I was like, I am not paying this any longer. We're going to a different cabinetry. We can build cabinets much cheaper. We can use paper fronts like we do in the towables. It's okay to have staples shown in the outside, blah, blah, blah. Well, that was about 72 hours, that idea was okay, because I reached out to some customers and they said, well, you do like your job, right? And customers were saying that they do not touch the cabinets. Okay, gotcha. So in 2000, we didn't touch cabinets. 2018, we dabbled in Firefly. We dabbled in the 12 volt AC, and we launched the lithium 600 amp hour lithium battery. And you know, John, who's here today, plant manager, and I just went back and forth, it was 8 months. Oh man, I'm so worried we're going to catch on, something's going to catch on fire, blah, blah, blah. But Stephen Tartaglia, handshake with Lithionics, and we're in a really good spot today with them. Customer service is off the charts. I know soon a question you're going to ask about Lithionics and whatnot, and we can wait on some answers on that to give some breakdown on Lithionics. But you know, this week we are going to be announcing Coachman's 60th anniversary. Quite remarkable. Really recognizable brand, second to Winnebago, I believe, or even more. So I don't know which one's which. I should know that. But then was Lithionics, then was a little tech, and then we started getting a little bit more mainstream, more videos and whatnot. And really got out there. And that's, you know, it's the genius of YouTube.
I think was it kind of around 2020 or just before 2020 when it really started to...
We were starting to hit it. Like it was, okay,
the
listening's paying off. Quality programs are working. We were struggling with electrical still. I've got no problems admitting some of our faults in the past or today for that matter. And then COVID, okay? But we were, you know, on the upswing. And then COVID hit and it was just everything to the wall. And you know, one thing I'm proud of, I've been doing 5 a day since I've been able to do 5 a day right. All right. Through COVID, we didn't ramp up one more unit a day. We didn't take advantage of it. We built what we could the right way, and I'm really proud of that. We could have built more, but then we would be sending product out to the holding yard that was incomplete, which would mean a gentleman with a tool belt would have to go back out to install a cabinet door, a microwave, and a speaker, and then another person had to come in behind. It's just not good practice. We want completed units, end of the line. So through COVID, it was rough. You know, we had the Ford issue, not being able to get chassis. A lot of customers worked with us. We said, okay, we understand you bought a Beyond a year ago. Ford's struggling, guys. What I'll do is, if you work with me, do you want me to build it the way you bought it a year ago, or can we work something out as to where we are today? And I'll give you where we're at today. And it was frustrating for customers, but I think everybody got what they wanted to get. And so that was really good. And then really when it really, let me back up just to in between 19 and 20, kind of the last quarter of 19, beginning of 20, when we took on the the Transit chassis, all-wheel drive. That's when things just went like that. And we were still we still made another mistake. We were sitting here selling the van. Well, Torado doesn't have wood. What about the chassis? And we really focused chassis features and all-wheel drive and dually and whatnot. And there wasn't a lot of dualies outside of the Sprinter at that point in time in gas at a smaller platform. So that really took off. And then we entered 2019, and you heard me joking earlier about the Dodge chassis, and we really made a big mistake. We tried to do everything right, but we should have had that Dodge chassis out a little bit earlier. And you know, right now, you know, front-wheel drive cars are extremely popular. I've seen more single women at this rally. I'm very proud of that. We want to make sure single women feel like they've got somebody that they can just give a jingle to, and we're going to be there the best we can. So now Nova gets launched in 2019. Nova is sitting at number 11 or 12 brand in the most competitive environment I've ever seen. So I mentioned I was in fifth wheels. When I started in fifth wheels, there were 8 brands: Cougar, Wildcat, Coachman Chaparral, Crossroads Cruiser, and a couple other little brands. So maybe 8 or 9 brands. Now there's 72 brands. When I started in 17, there was about 5 brands of Class Bs. Now if we were just to do a little, what do you call them, where you do offshoot of in this, and I can maybe scan something to you. There's 45 brands of Class Bs. It's insane.
I think even from the time when I started looking, which was in 2020, I mean, there was the Winnebagos, there was Coachman's, of course, Road Trek, and then you had the more like somewhat customer higher end, like Midwest Auto, things like that.
Airstream has always been a player. Right. They do a great job. So that's 19, 20, 21 through COVID. Still doing videos. Now we're talking Dean running a Facebook page. And then later in the year, we started doing some events with Sunshine State and really bringing that Ocala show to something that I never thought I'd ever see. I smoke. I shouldn't. I hate it. I'm working on it. I want to be around for a while for you and my family. But I remember I'd walk out back and watch those horses run at that big polo area. And there would always be 4 Travados and something else out there. I was just like, gosh, it'd be nice. And then one year, a Galleria was there. And then the next year, nothing. And then the next year, 14. And the next year, 40. And then the next year, 80 vans were there. And
and a waiting list.
And a waiting list. And we were making people upset too.
And
we were talking about this at the potluck last night. The coolest thing I love about that show is, okay, we don't want to talk to you anymore, Nick. What is through that van, behind that motorhome? What are all those people doing together? And that's the key to what we're doing here. Dean is as much as a salesperson as I am, and Dean's probably sold more vans than I have. And what he does, and I was just talking to our new president, he goes, why does Dean do this? Dean likes bringing people together, and what Dean does, and everybody in each group, Michael Frawley for Nova, Dutch for Galleria, provides after-sale organization. An after-sale group gathering, information, confidence, updates. And that's when the arms got real big, and we kind of became a real big family. And other people have contributed. I'm not just focusing on Dean. And like I said today, I don't want anybody to think just because your van says a G or an N or a B for Beyond that we're not cousins and brothers and sisters, because all these things look exactly alike on the inside. And that's something that I wanted to make sure that even if somebody was gonna buy a Nova, I want them to stand tall and go, look, my stuff looks just like a Beyond. And you know what? My stuff looks just like a Galleria too. And that means a lot in your purchase, that you're getting added value.
Well, and when I was kind of really honing in on Coachman, it kind of became more about like, well, which chassis am I interested in? Because I knew I was going to get the same quality.
And then we used to say that, hey, you get our build, 98% of the build is the same, glass doors versus curved doors, a couple little options, a couple feet, they're about the only difference. You get our build, you choose your chassis. And it really fit. And then kind of turned over the sales department. And Tommy Kaler had been a good friend of mine for a long time. And Tommy was into toy haulers, but spent a lot of time in motorized. I never spent any time in motorized. So to be good, you got to know your weakness, right? And so was like, Tommy, I saw him at the airport. I was like, I'm looking for a sales manager. I need somebody organized, more computer savvy than I am. I need somebody that knows motors, and I need you to help me find this person. So we walked away from each other at the airport, and 10 minutes later I get a call. Hey, and Tommy was a Forest River employee at another motorized division. Tommy goes, I want this job. I go, you don't want this job. He goes, I want this job, Nick. He goes, I've been following what you're doing. I want this job. This is so different. And then after a couple weeks, Tommy came to me and goes, hey, can I get a couple minutes of your time? Sure. He goes, you know what? He goes, I can have a show 250 days a year. I go, you can have a show 365 if you want to work a little overtime. 250 working days a year. We're joking. But his thought process is just like mine. I can't rely on maybe a couple weaker salesmen. Not saying weak, just doesn't have the drive that we did to go out there. So I got to figure out how to do this organically.
Right.
And then Tommy goes, if I get all these inquiries, I can spend an hour on the phone with them, ballpark their price, ballpark their ETA, and then just tell the salesperson, here's an order.
Right.
We're going to give you a little spiff, like $250, $500 spiff. You make that. Remember when I pulled out my keys today? When this happens, you make sure this is a golden experience.
Right.
And so the guys, now I got younger Kyle. Josh just turned 30. Tommy's about 4 years younger than me, and they're very savvy, digitally, whatnot. And that works. And my sales guys are creating relationships. I mean, where did you get that from?
Tommy. Yep.
So, really cool. So it's just constantly morphing.
Is the one that gave me the factory tour because I came up right after I got the van. Just because I wanted to do a factory
absolutely.
tour. Yeah,
absolutely.
he's the one that gave me the tour.
Yep.
And
Tommy is 100% part of Coachman Class B's. Like, he just loves it. Now, I do a lot of this because my guys need to sell, and they need to be talking to dealers, and they need to be doing their thing. So it's my job to be kind of the spokesperson for the team. So as we grew, we promoted Paul. Paul was in parts. Paul did far more than parts. Paul used to dread when I'd go to an event, because then I'd come back with Paulski, I call him Paulski's list, and it would be a long list of commitments I made at a Tampa show or something, and that's not easy to do, to pick up after the boss, right?
Right.
He did, and he did it really well. And so we had a person in warranty at the time, and it just didn't work out, and I sat there for about 3 weeks wondering what to do. Should I hire somebody from the outside? I like hiring from within, but I do like new people for new ideas. Promoted Paul. And at that time, we had just started the service department. And I really think that service department is a whole, like a bicycle cog.
Yep.
It's a big part of the cog.
Yep.
That, today I can always sense frustration. Nobody wants to hear this. It's going to be 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
It's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. It'll be 6 weeks before you can bring your van in. We'll take a look at it in 2 weeks after that, and then we'll tell you how many weeks after. Well, what in the world's going on here? So, thank goodness that we have the most transient customers there are, and that's, you've heard me say that. I'm saying that in all positivity. And we try to create a very good culture back there in the shop. Easy going. We're going to try to get you everything that you want in the short amount of time we're getting scheduled. And we've seen everything. We've seen flooded, hurricane flood units. We've seen everything. It's like that Allstate commercial. We've seen this. We've seen that.
Yeah.
So the development of the service department in 2019-ish really added another feather to our cap. Is I don't know many RV companies that want them back. No, take it to your dealer. In certain cases, it needs to come back to us. And now I got a shop that I want to expand on when we can. It's not going to happen anytime soon until we get a new plant. I don't know when that is, understandably, but that's a huge sales feature.
Yeah.
And it lets people come in, do a plant tour, and it's funny because there's always bees in our parking lot.
Yeah.
And they're like, how come you have customers here all the time? Look, guys, these folks tour. They don't camp. You're not going to find somebody in a Class B that's going to be somewhere for 14 days. And if they are, it is the most magical place. And it's got waterfalls. It's got an espresso machine that comes out of a rock. They can, you know what I mean? It's got everything that you want to do in your 2 weeks of time. You know what I mean? A fifth wheel person is just going to go dump it, park it, open the slides, and just enjoy the 2 weeks. Okay.
Right.
Different people. Nobody really wants to tow a 40-foot fifth wheel with a 3/4 ton, 1 ton truck in 2 weeks, 7 different times.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is nothing.
Right.
You know, this is, okay, put that here, put that there, load that up, boom, getting my Swiss Army knife, and I'm off to the races. And when I refer to a Swiss Army knife, I don't know, this is as close to an RV Swiss Army knife as there is. If her car goes down, boom, she can loan her car out, I'll drive the van.
Yeah.
If her car goes down, boom.
This is actually our second vehicle. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's common. And so now we started doing these rallies and the stuff in Ocala, and we're growing up. And I referred to us as a child, and we're growing, and we're still young. We're a very mature young company because we listen and we obey our customers like our parents. Honestly, we've done it different. And different's hard. You got to play within some rules.
Yep.
But you can be different. And the people that I employ, they are very special. There's some guys, I'm not knocking you at all. I respect this 100%. There's work in their fingerprint that I don't know that you ever can get out of there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can tell there's dirt from when they were kids, and I mean and they'll take that as a compliment. Some people go, oh, that doesn't. No, those are the guys that I want.
Yep.
Just the other day, every 5-year anniversary, I go and buy them a steak for lunch, and I got some gruff guys, so I was really excited about this one. And I'm not going to say her name. So 11 o'clock is always steak time for 5-year anniversary. So I'm bringing the steak over. We're not running production this week. We're not running production next week. Give the guys a little break.
Yep.
Where's he at? He left to go fishing, man.
Oh.
It's like, well, I'll eat the steak. So good on him for doing his job, getting out of here, and doing what he loves. And that's what we want to, I want people to come to work, have a great, safe, clean work environment, go home to your family. Friday, you get paid, have a couple great days with your family, and come back to your work family. Let's make other families happy.
Right.
And, you got to have a lot of respect for this industry because it shows.
Yeah.
If you don't care about it, they'll buy boats. If you don't manage your business right, your division right, they'll buy cabins.
Yeah.
This is discretionary income, discretionary time. We cannot play with this, and that's why we're pretty serious over here. And at the end of the day, I do these videos. My team really just wants to go home. They're the ones that are the superstars, the Pauls, the Mirandas, the Johns, the Brandons, the Bills, Jeff, Jake, all my group leaders. You can walk through my plant and it's safe, it's clean, there's not people hobbling. That's something that I saw in other places I worked, women in the QC that, just to make the week's pay for their family, they're walking on the side of their foot and their hips. I don't want that.
Right.
You go home and get right, and we take care of our people because there's only so many people.
Right.
And that's about it. That's kind of why we're here. Customer appreciation all day long, reaching out, communicating, knowing your customer, spending time with customers. Yeah. It's not easy. I don't think you guys think that this is easy.
No.
You know what I mean? And I'm not a yes man to the customers. We work things out. Sometimes the customer's demand's huge. If we failed them, we're going to meet that demand. And sometimes the customer just wants to feel like a customer, and we'll do a little pat on the back and help them out in a ways. But I'm proud to be able to work at a company that they let me do this.
Yeah.
And we're successful. If I wasn't successful, we wouldn't be able to do this. But the team, the product gets us successful to, in turn, earn a lot of this reputation that we're given for customer service. And that's all I want to be known as.
Yeah.
My boss is going to go crazy. We need to be number one. Yeah, we'll get there someday, man. But let's be the greatest.
Right.
And then we'll, you've heard that before. It's not me making that up. And then we'll be number one.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm really honored to have all these customers here. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So.
it really is like I was telling some of the people here from our group that I've seen him 4 times. I met him last year in Ocala. I mean, we obviously chatted on the Facebook group, but I said we've seen each other 4 times. I said, but I feel like I know you guys. I feel like it's almost like a family reunion. In a way.
And you put that in an email the other day. And it does. I mean, I'm not the greatest with names. It's kind of inundating here with all these faces, but hey, Bert.
Yeah.
Hey. You know, now it does feel like a family reunion, and it's super cool. It's super cool, and it's great to do that for customers, for very loyal customers.
Do you see a shift in like people coming down from like a Class A or a fifth wheel or going into a B?
So we have a lot of customers. So why do we put cherry wood in the Galleria, but you don't see it much in the Beyond? I'm probably going to just not do that unless it's special or really in a Beyond. In Galleria, 2 feet makes a big deal.
Right.
But why we have cherry offering is because I'd be at a show, hey, I have a 42-foot diesel. I'm 72 years old. I am not stopping camping, but I'm not camping in that thing.
Right.
And so I want to look at one of your Gallerias. Every show. So motorized, downsizing. Here we got some Class C folks that were in Class C's that have come into the Ford or the Dodge, even the Galleria. So yeah, we see that often. We don't get pop-up trailer folks coming up. We do have a family in Detroit that owns a Galleria and a Coachman small little travel trailer for the mother-in-law. And I told the customer, I go, we don't stick the mother. There's plenty of seats in the Galleria 24Q for your mother-in-law. No, we just tow that because she doesn't want to be in the van because it can't sleep that many. You can seat that many.
Yeah.
What is it? Sleep 2, entertain 8.
Yeah.
Entertain maybe 4 now. Yeah. We do get some residual from other motorized, but I was talking up front to Jason, who's head of our customer care group, and he's surprised how many folks are first-time buyers making the leap. And I think a little bit of that is just the segment. It's growing 30%. And I think we're catching some of those leapers because they feel really good with what they've heard from other customers.
So you're saying first, like, never had an RV?
Never had an RV.
I'm one of them.
We got a lot of y'all. And that's the biggest honor there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To take this leap of faith. And, you know, I touched on how many single female travelers, owners we have, and that is really cool. That's super brave, and I don't know that I'm that brave to be 100% honest. I mean, a lot's going on there.
Yeah. I think part of it, too, is a van feels manageable.
Yep.
You know, you've got one AC. You're not worrying about, like, a bigger rig that might have 2 AC. That's 2 units you've got to think about.
No slide outs.
No slides that have to be maintained. And, it's you know, small tanks to empty and just,
very manageable.
And
quick, nimble.
And the outside of it is a vehicle. I mean, it's a car.
Yep.
Just a big one.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
That has a kitchen.
Yep. And a shower. And a bed.
Yep. But it's really interesting to see that even now the B segment is still. I mean, I know generally the industry's kind of dipping, but the Bs are kind of even.
I think we're down 13%, which I talked earlier about being up 30% every year. Not me, just the segment, just constantly growing 30.
Yeah.
We were bound to have a turn.
Yeah.
I'm worried about interest rates. I think they're going to bump it a full point in July. You know, we had a guy out in the West Coast in LA, Galleria owner, doctor, owned his own practice, perfect credit, you know, goes down the road. He's been talking to my West Coast rep, Kyle, and he emails in and says, guys, I put 100 down on a Galleria. I was going to finance 80, whatever it was.
Right.
And I got shot 9.7. I'm not doing it. And it has nothing to do with you guys. I'm coming back because this makes me mad. I'm going to own a Galleria. I'm going to own... But that's happening a little bit, and you know, you hate to see it. It'll all get straightened out one way or another.
Yeah.
But you know, we're looking at expanding our product line to meet other price points, but without compromising. It's going to take us a little bit more studying and homework to do that because that's not easy to do, to lower your prices and still keep all this integrity. It's something we're putting to pencil, and I think we're going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Anything that you can share that'll be coming in the 2024s?
2024 model year.
Yeah. Any
I want to what we introduced right now we're in VIN change right now going into 24.
Right.
So just before VIN change, which starts next week, we did bring a Galleria Proto here. And we're going to see a new countertop called Ice Queen. For you folks that have a Galleria Beyond or Nova that have a current countertop, take out the blue or the green and small tan flecks, and it's going to be more just an ice color, multiple colors of white. I got rid of the Jensen stereo. I think there should be an applause button over here somewhere. We got a JBL. That unit's here. Went to a smart TV. And then we introduced something that's super cool, and that is a 1260 lithium package. 2 630 batteries, which is very robust. And what I got tired of people saying and watching in videos is I try never. One thing I don't like is if you're on video, you better not embellish. So at least numbers, okay? There's a lot of guys going, we got the largest battery capacity there is in Class Bs, but do you have a second alternator?
Right.
You can fill the whole darn van up with, but can you charge them?
Right.
Because once they're all gone, okay, we got to get them back full.
Yeah.
And then some of the West Coast builders, we've got 1830. Well, okay. Do you have an air conditioner? No, we don't. We've just got 2 air fans and a ton of solar.
You better stay as far north as you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and we've got some other tricks up our sleeves. We've recently hired an extremely sharp Class B engineer, a very young man. I'm not going to say his name. We need to leave him alone. He's got a lot of work to do. But he's been here 3 weeks, and one of the things that I need to do a better job on, we need to do a better job on, is when we lift that jump seat up. I call it all the licorice. I don't want to see all the licorice anymore. And he very quietly goes, "Hey Nick, do you mind while you're at the rally if I just see what I can do there?" And that was one of the things I told him. This will be done, and he wanted to do it.
Right.
And about 3 o'clock about 2 o'clock, he leaves at 2:30. "Hey, let me know how this looks." I'm like, "Where's all the licorice?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll show you the picture.
Yeah, I want to see that
afterwards. And kudos.
Yeah.
And we're still going to build our engineering team. Workforce is strong right now. We're just really blessed back here, and just trying to do it right every day, trying to do the right thing every day. And when we don't come up with any silly excuse of why we just own it. Let's get through it. Be human. Humans can, understand that when you start shedding responsibility the wrong way and not accepting responsibility, you don't look as healthy and as strong as you should as a division, as a customer service team. So,
Yeah. And you probably will disagree with me on this one, but, to me, I accept that there's going to be a certain percentage of something that may not work right, or
I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that, but that's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but there's a big difference from, maybe you got a bad batch of microwaves. You guys didn't build the microwave.
Yeah, but I did select it.
Right.
Okay. I chose the company. So I do, even though, and I don't like saying it. The only people I will say that about, and I will take that back, is Carefree. I did not build that on.
Yes.
Carefree.
Yeah. Knock on wood, I've not had any issues with that on.
And it's not everyone, so take it with a grain of salt. The only reason
and it's not limited to Coachman either. So.
and the only reason I'm saying that is they're a sister company. They're owned by Berkshire Hathaway, so we can have some fun in these videos.
But I would take issue if I'm driving down the road and a whole cabinet falls down or
And I made mention this morning that we had an issue with shirt lockers, so I'm not perfect, but we fixed it and we figured out how to fix it. So a couple other things came to mind for 24. Ford stopped allowing me to take U.S. built chassis out of Kansas City and send them across the border. So now I've got to buy Canadian Ford chassis from Kansas City. Don't know. I'm not getting into
Oh,
it.
to go to Canada?
To go to Canada.
Okay.
They used to just change out the dash cluster, and they don't want to do that anymore. Dodge. I can't send Dodges across the border. So now we're buying some Canadian Dodges. I'm looking at a 19-foot Dodge chassis.
Okay.
Tiny.
Right.
I don't want to go tiny on Mercedes yet. And then we are talking Transit Trail. I was supposed to get a Transit Trail in January. It is now almost my birthday coming up here, and still haven't seen it. So hopefully we can squeeze that in 24. And then I want to play around with some interiors.
Yeah.
And while I love this, and we've been talking up the wood, and there's nothing like this cabinet, you judge a Class B 2 things: your initial quality and systems quality, and then how quiet is it or isn't it?
Right.
And it needs to be judged on both of those two things. And working on some bathroom. We're working on some expanding bathroom sinks a little bit. But I can't tell you when all this is going to get done because it's just a constant process.
Kind of an
it's
iteration.
Just things we're looking at doing. And a lot of it comes from the surveys that we kick out to you folks. And sometimes I don't even have to ask. I get told, you need to, and that is fine. That is fine. I get it. If they didn't care, they wouldn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't be sending me and us the information. So we're going to have a new Galleria color, salient gray, which will be coming here shortly.
On the outside?
Yep, on the outside.
Okay.
Really nice automotive color.
Oh,
Getting
okay.
away from the graphite gray, that Amazon
right,
type
the Amazon
color,
look, yeah.
which people love that.
Yeah.
But I just think it might have got a little bit too stale.
Yeah.
And outside of that, we looked at the new gray cabinet doors. That will be Nova and beyond. And I'm thinking about doing that in Galleria. Yep. And going through and really drilling down on connections and crimps. The tools that we use to crimp the big wire. The other day my engineer stopped me before I was coming in here and he goes, hey, you wanted to buy those tools from the really nice hydraulic handheld tools, but I'm not seeing a successful crimp on our big Li3 wire.
Okay.
And I go, okay, what do you got, boss? And he goes, well, I've been using this for 5 years. Little handheld pneumatic. I go, okay, I do this screw test now. Take the loop, put it on a screw, and if it can hold 200 and we'll call it 10 up and not pull. So ours pulled, his didn't. His wasn't automated. His was mechanical. So sometimes it's not always the easiest and the coolest, most expensive thing that is going to cut the mustard and do the job. Right. Sometimes it's finding somebody that knows how to do the job and use his tools. Right. And recently, as of March 1, we took Carefree of Colorado off Firefly, and we took Truma off Firefly. And we had some bridge module issues, and it's really, I'm not blaming Firefly, because at the end of the day, an integrator is a very difficult decision. You're taking technology from somebody you have no idea about and integrating in it to a system that it's never talked to before. And this is something we all need to take a look at it in the RV segment. How complex we want. Sometimes we got to tell customers, you know what, I think 4 apps on your phone might be better than 1. So we still have Firefly, but the Truma's on its own, and the Carefree's on its own, and we're having really good success. And I'm getting comments from service departments saying, what have you done recently? We don't have to spend the time of programming this and this and this, and we can still be a little complex and tech heavy, but a little bit more simple. And then we'll keep on building on that. At some point in time in 24, we'll have a Beyond and a Nova that has no Firefly, that's just switches. And that would be a great opportunity. I don't want to scare first-time buyers away. And that's a great way to, what's a Firefly? Fireflies are doing this? Well, no, a Firefly is a screen, and you know what I mean? But I want to open more newbies, because that's how that's what we call ourselves, newbies and whatnot, to get in the segment, make them feel a little bit more welcome, and not scared. And then through that, okay, we're ready for an LI3 with whatever system Nick and the team put in. And I think that's something really important that we work on. I've been through the insulation gamut, trying to figure out the best insulation. I haven't figured any out besides the one we currently use now. I'm not saying there's not anything better out there, okay? But, I'm looking in these self-builders, and now they're using Rockwall, and they're using Hush Mat, and they're using this, and they're telling the same story that I said, that, I got on a creeper and I noticed there's all these weep holes underneath the chassis. That means if I were to reach in Teresa's fridge and pull out a beer right now, it would sweat. And those engineers know from each brand, these things condensate. It could be 40 degrees tonight. Well, let's call 40 degrees tonight, 80 by 11 tomorrow. There's going to be some moisture built up in the walls, and you got to have applications in there. First of all, you've got to have something in there that works. Secondly, you got to have an application that can deal with a lot of vibration and a lot of temperature change. And I think we're on to something there. And
I will say that, if I'm somewhere and, I'm all closed up, the windows and everything are closed up, I really don't hear a lot of what's going on outside.
The biggest test, and the biggest test I tell people is to go on the either side of a Dodge, okay, not knocking Dodge, but we hear these things going down the road when there's boxes in them, right? Like, you hear them when they're driving in your driveway. They're loud, and there's nothing in them. But when you hit the side of a Nova, don't damage it. When you hit the side, it is a thud versus a rattle. And that's telling you a lot. And it's packed in there, rock wool, cozy wrap, a lot of the stuff we do. We kind of started this story. And, today I was talking to my old GM from Fifth Wheels, and Dean was there. And I said, you know what, Fred, I got to give you some credit. And he goes, no, I didn't do any of this. I go, no, you did. And Fred's very dry, very direct, very good boss. And I was like, you would sit me down and say, where's the story behind this? We need to create a story behind our product. And we had Asdale, and this was a composite that we backed our fiberglass with so your walls wouldn't de-lam. Well, we used some of that similar composite in the overhead, but I got to credit Fred. We created a story, and we didn't create it. We were creating a product that became a story that was well thought out. We made a couple mistakes, but the story's still here today. And kudos to Fred for that. I think you were there when we were talking to Fred today, and he wouldn't take any of that. But you would have no interest in me if there wasn't a story behind, or my product if there wasn't a story about who we are and what we're doing. So, great question.
Now there's two power options. So there's the lithium system like I have, and then there's the AGM
standard
battery with the generators.
Standard,
And so what are kind of some of the differences from a maintenance standpoint, or things to think about if somebody's looking to buy a van?
So this question was a lot easier to answer before Onan came out with the 2800i generator. Okay. So I'm going to date myself. I think some of you will get what I'm saying. I mowed yards for when I was in high school, hit the old Italian neighborhoods. I went out and bought. My mom wouldn't let me use her lawn boy. I had to save up money to buy a $50 snapper. And when I towed the snapper behind my bike, remember that Folgers cup, that Folgers can I was talking about that your grandpa or uncle has all the old most necessary bolts and screws to survive the apocalypse? And there's tons of them up there next to jars and whatnot. That snapper sounded like this. And that's what the old Onan sounded like. So sometimes it wasn't necessarily that the customers wanted lithium. They just didn't want the noise. And they were willing to spend 20 grand for no noise. Now let's fast forward a little bit. That generator was loud. We had quite a bit of maintenance on that. Now they come out with, and we helped Onan get into this. The Beyond was the first one to have this generator on it, and it's a 2800i. And that's inverter driven. It's fuel injection. One of the negatives about, and this is another thing, the old generator, before it was fuel injection, Once you take it up to 7,000 feet, and customers you just can't take a an engine like that without it being fuel injected up that high.
Right.
A lot of people didn't like that. Where are some of the places that we want to go in a B van? I want to go to 7,500, 8,500 feet. In fact, if I can squeeze 10, I'm going to 10.
Yeah.
And so that was another reason why people chose lithium. And some people chose it because they were afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the reasons why we chose lithionics was because at the time, and I'm not making light of this, the president of the company, it's still back when there was laptops in overheads catching fire because of bad battery chemistry and design.
Yeah.
So some of it was once people learned about lithionics more than brand X, because at the time Road Trek was the king of lithium with the E-Trek, and they had their own batteries and all of this. They did it completely different than us. Instead of running in a bunch of batteries in series, I think they had a 400, 600, 800, 1200, and 1600 with their own little Group 31 batteries and lithium batteries. But what was funny, after digging in the chat rooms where my wife would slam the laptop or the tablet down, I learned, and I couldn't believe this because I'm not an electrician. Road Trek used to put an AGM battery under the front seat or somewhere in the van. And because the system didn't have a BMS, I call it the battery mother system, but it's battery management system.
Right.
Because it didn't have a BMS, in the chat rooms it says, why is there an AGM in my lithium system, and why is the AGM always the one to burn up? It was the dumping ground of the unmanaged electric.
Right.
You got me? And that was odd. So we really started pushing lithionics. James and Steph dropped in a battery in Lance, and then the 1972 listing. And that's something I haven't mentioned, but I could have chose any battery, except I asked for what is the harshest testing so I can go to sleep at night knowing that somebody that's sleeping on a bed with a lithium battery underneath it, I don't have to worry about it if we do our jobs right. Because I know they're going to do their jobs right because they got all this FLIR testing equipment. And this was a long time when they were in a tiny little building compared to what they are now, which is enormous. So I think it was a combination of those things. 1972, the old generator now becoming much quieter.
Right.
So now, and when I say much quieter, Teresa, I mean I sent it down to Sunshine State, and they were all in it, and they were waiting for the van. And Matt, I don't think it was Matt at the time. I'm like, okay, turn it on. They're like, it says it's on, but we can't hear it. I go,
wow.
Look, man, I tested this thing like 20 times. It works. And I go, can somebody put their ear? They're like, oh my gosh, it's on.
Wow.
So it's more like that lawn wave, a purr versus that rattle, referencing the old Onan. So maintenance. The old one, very difficult to change oil on. New one, some designs. I would always encourage you, because the generator's pretty tight. Just go to Onan, okay? We got some folks here that are very handy, that they can change it out. But the new one, the new Onan, it's virtually maintenance free. Some oil changes. Number one thing to do on your Onan is go to your appliance sheet. I've been working on the penmanship of my team, and you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
And you'll know what I'm saying too. And that Onan number will be clearly. Make sure you have a screenshot of that, okay? Because that stinks to have to. Oh, what kind of Onan serial number you got? I got to get underneath. I got to contort over here. There's less resetting going on. Kind of like the old school. I'll just reset the engine. Than in the past. So there's not much maintenance. Clearance is something you need to understand.
It's underneath.
Hours of operation. If you love a certain campground, but you're a late doer, you got to cut that. You got to cut that generator off. And then the lithium. I couldn't do the math in my head. this much money for a lithium battery,
Mm-hmm.
that much money for an alternator, that much money for this, that much money. I'm like, oh my. We sell trailers.
Yeah.
Our company sells trailers that cost this much and a lot less.
Yeah.
That was scary. But knowing added value, going back to that added value, UL 1972 listing, we're at our second Pomona show, and this guy came up, and never judge a book by its cover, and I've gotten this taught to me one time at an RV show. This guy came up I was selling fifth wheels. He had pig poop or horse poop or some poop on his old boots. No t-shirt. This was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Overalls on, and nobody would talk to him. I'm like, man, come on, guys. And I know all these guys. We flew in a plane together, not a private plane, but hey, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a 30-foot triple slide fifth wheel. I go, I think I got something like that. It needs to be aluminum sidewalls. I go, I got something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, why are you talking to me? I go, because I'm a salesman. And he goes, well, show me what you got. I go, okay. So fast forward, he goes, and this was in front of everybody. He goes, I want that. And the sales manager comes over and goes, you got cash, checker. And I knew this old man was going to do this.
Yeah.
Oxgosh bagosh. He goes, how much is this? Out the door. $49,999.
Oh, wow.
And just kept on, and he was looking at everybody that wouldn't give him the time of day, even the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy comes, and we got all of our hoods open up. Gallerias, I think a couple Beyonds, no Nova yet. And this guy's poking around out there. Like, what's your name, sir? He goes, I go, are you on the Road Trek chat rooms? He goes, I own a Road Trek. I go, I know who you are. And he goes, you and your rep, John Monterusso, know who I am, too. And we had a West Coast rep by the name of John, a really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, would anybody mind spending like an hour and a half to 2 hours talking? I was like, well, nobody knows who I am out here. They're all after the West Coast stuff. You know, I mean, they were literally walking by us, and it was frustrating. So gave this gentleman the time, and well, I have to say, drum roll, this is a very well thought out system. And we took that back, gained some confidence, started marketing, and here we are today. So lithium maintenance. What lithium maintenance do we need? I would make sure always to check your belt.
Yes.
Second alternator belt. If you see some chips or some frays, we might have something out of alignment, spacing out of alignment.
Okay.
Outside of that, temperature. I always a lot of people want me to put the batteries outside. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I live in Indiana, and in Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, southern Michigan, Illinois, there's a thing called catalytic converter thefts.
Yeah.
And I swear if those people ever found out that there was I might do it someday. But I'm going to make sure there's a way that they can't cut it out like a catalytic converter. But you get what I mean. That's a valuable part of the van.
Yeah.
I don't want that going anywhere. So I'm looking at that. But overall maintenance, check your belt. And then if you can, and I've had some emotional discussions with some customers. You didn't tell me that I needed to store my Li3 in a storage facility. Well, no, I didn't, but if you've done homework on lithium, you know it can't discharge at 32 or below. And it won't charge. I mean, it just jams everything up. So I got an old bass boat. I got 6 batteries in there. I'm tired of changing, and I'm talking regular old $300 batteries, nothing lithium. I'm tired of changing them. So for 4 months, maybe even 3 if I cut it close, it's going in to storage.
Yeah.
Okay? Please.
Yeah.
There's people that'll store, you don't have to pay $150. I think I paid $80 the one year, then they raise it to $110. If you live in Minnesota, please, if you can't put it in a warm, heated barn, that's a huge investment. So temperature for your battery will encourage longevity.
Yeah.
And then we talked about today, and I'll elaborate, and I'll make sure I include Teresa on this, the 30 amp. I've been talking about 30 amp. So you've heard me maybe say this. The cells are like children. And if you've come from a big family, I came from like a Brady Bunch type 80s, 80s family. My oldest brother was crazy. Who know when he would come home and who knows when he would wake up. Pardon me, my oldest sister was fine. She was fine. Stepsister. Second oldest brother, he's crazy. I always knew the military middle stepbrother would always do what he's told. The next stepbrother, older than me, was just as unpredictable as the oldest stepbrother. And then it was me and my little sister that we were scared to have, we were raised by Italians and we just didn't mess around. But we all had our own personality, and you bring them up, and we don't want to shut them down.
Right.
So we just want to make sure it's all on a level playing field, because some days from heat or whatnot, you could be off a little bit. It's not going to show up on your SOC gauge to say Sally's attitude right now, Billy's attitude, so-and-so's attitude. So we want to make sure that those cells are topping off. And sometimes the BMS, the battery mother system or battery management system, will go, hey, Sally, it's time for you to wake up. This is the second day in a row you slept in. And that BMS will hit that one. And then, so just having that bulk charge, keep in mind, your alternator's kicking 220 back here.
Right.
Your own system without being plugged in. So it can eat a charge.
Yeah.
Lithium iron phosphate it wants to work.
Yeah.
And it wants to cycle.
Yeah.
And so in our batteries, I think we do 10,000 cycles from zero. Estimated to be about 7 to 10 years. And what's cool is lithium prices have come down a little bit. There wasn't a lot of demand 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of demand.
Yes.
So I'm really proud that I've not raised the lithium price at all. There's other things that I just couldn't, they just went up because they weren't here. They were in an ocean far, far away. So temperature is a big deal on lithium, and checking the belt, making sure you are storing it properly. And I would say kind of the belt is the big thing. And then the SOC gauge. Don't get paranoid, okay? If you got an 80%, the battery's not going to be happy if you're doing this to it. This is where it's at 85, 90. It's going to look at you like a Belgian Malinois and go, bro, this walk was supposed to be for 8-hour walk.
Yeah.
Like you were supposed to spend the whole work day with me and train me all day. So the batteries want to cycle. Yeah. That's when they get like really going, and that's when their optimum is those deep cycles. So I understand you want to keep up here. Just don't be a helicopter battery parent. Like I'm a helicopter parent, so I can say this. Let them skin their knee a little bit.
Yeah.
Let them climb a tree a little bit too high. Let them get down and cycle. Only do that when you know you're sticking to your travel plan, because you know best when you need to fill up.
Yep. When
you're going to be there. Everything now we can tell exactly where we're going to be.
Right.
When the road, if we're going to run into a traffic jam. So and always have a full tank of gas.
Yeah.
Always have a full tank of gas, and I don't mean fill up once you get to 5/8 or 3/4. Set something that you set. I will only be what's an eighth less than a half. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's keep it.
Yeah.
Right now I tell my wife, the way the world is, there's no reason your truck should be on E.
Yeah.
You should never have an empty truck, because if we got to go, we're going.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's just a good practice.
When I'm traveling, my rule is I don't go below a half, and there's two reasons. One, because if I am driving somewhere where it's more rural, we don't know when the next gas station's going to be. I don't want to be stuck somewhere. And then the other one is more of a pricing psychological game I play with myself, because if I fill up and it's $30-$40, okay. Yep. But if I went down to E and then all of a sudden it's $100, I'm gonna have a mild heart attack.
And you got to think some of these tanks are more capacity at the top, less capacity at the bottom. Yeah. So maybe once
it'll start.
Once you eat through it, this used to be on the older Ford chassis. Once you went to like 3/4, there was a big drop.
Yeah.
And it was quickly. So filling up, not crazy, not not sitting there and mothering your battery. Make sure we're maintaining it. Huge investment. And then let me finalize. If you call, let's say somebody has a van for 10 years, and there shouldn't be a problem with that, 7 years, and you feel like you're not getting the same kind of performance out of your battery, Lithionics can run some number. You send them the information, Lithionics run some numbers. I would encourage you to take a trip down to Clearwater, and a long time ago they quoted me about $3,500 4 or 5 years ago to refurbish the battery. I don't know if that's exactly true down to the dollar,
right?
But that's capable,
and
they can do that there, and we don't have to go get a new system, and you can be still with something that a system you're familiar with. So,
and one thing I do, well, being in Texas, we don't, we might have a cold spell, but it lasts, maybe a week. Except for a couple of years ago, it was kind of a freak thing. But what I do, I do have a 30 amp at home because I used to have an electric car.
Gotcha.
So I'll plug in the van, and I turn the heat on, and I'll turn it. I mean, I might even turn it up to 70. If it's plugged in, I don't care. I put it on EL2, and I just run the heat. I open all the doors so that the heat's getting around. Haven't had a problem.
And
knock on wood, but
that's awesome because maybe you're in Tennessee where it's not. They get maybe a bad month or two. Sometimes you don't even have to plug it in. You can just use your LP, come in here, 40 degrees, Truma gas. And you can just keep it above 32. So it's not necessarily you got to go find a storage facility. There's ways to work around it. Like today, this morning, in a question, what happens when my LP system goes down? I can't use my Truma. I'm going to freeze. Well, no. Let's get to a outlet. 30 amp outlet. That EL2 is going to suck your battery if you just rely on that. Whether it's it'll suck an AGM real quick, and it'll even suck a lithium down real quick. And there's ways to have redundancies built in. And you can just use EL1 or EL2 to get you through. And very low maintenance on the new Onan. I really like it. Now we're not getting as much of people for noise. It's more performance. And now I don't have to, if the noise was the one driving factor, now I don't have to spend all that money on a lithium battery. And I'm okay with that, okay? Go take the wife on the most beautiful trip in your van. A little somewhere that you didn't expect, on the top of a mountain, pay a little bit extra to own the top of the mountains because you didn't have to buy a battery. You get what I'm saying. I'm just joking around, but save some money. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just as happy. We got customers here that are just as happy in lithium units as they are generators, and that's pretty cool. We can do it both ways. And then we're talking something in 24 we will probably see is a hybrid, meaning generator with a house battery that's of some lithium. I don't know which brand I'm going with. I'd like to stay with my current brand, but when they get smaller, they're still really expensive. And we might be able to strike up a relationship with somebody very reputable under the same standards as I talked about, 1972 UL listed. So we're sniffing around, and we're going to put them through the paces just like we did Lithionics.
And that would be a good option for somebody that maybe doesn't want the full on lithium.
Just lithium light.
Exactly. What are some modifications that you've seen owners do that either you've incorporated or ends up being the biggest request that you've seen?
One request, let's stick to Beyond, since this is a kind of a Beyond the Fern thing. One request was, can we do something with the rear doors? And our heads are always at the back of the van at night. We're trying to go to sleep, and car doors aren't built like they used to. There's not much inside. We had some customers actually going in there and putting up their own insulation. Well, I had to make sure the customers knew, please don't put any insulation that can fall down and interrupt the safety of you opening your door. And because sometimes that whatever insulative material would drop over the mechanism, your door mech, now we got a safety problem. So I was like, I will not put anything in there. I can't, it's not a good idea. So we came out with the ABS, the molded ABS door. Rarely ever will you talk to me or hear me saying, I really like that ABS part, but it filled the need.
Right.
And it's nice implemented speaker, windows, and then we were able to line it with cozy wrap. And even when we ran out of the material, customers still paid for the doors and the cozy wrap, and we worked it out with them that, yeah, we'll get you, we'll work it out. Even though it's not on the van, you know it's standard at the time, we'll facilitate that if you come to the plant. So rear ABS doors. Let me look around here. Well, paper towel holder. I still need to work on that a little bit. Recently, we talked about the lagoon leg up front.
Yep.
We're talking about. Everybody's asking for the magnets to stick to this.
Yep.
This is a decorative Formica type laminate that looks metal. So we're working on doing some metal back there. The shower bar idea, the extend bar idea that we talked about. We're gonna, even though I was gonna go that direction, we made a part to help the users to make sure they don't damage any wood, because a lot of us have the extend bar, and we're gonna do something a little bit more simple, hopefully. We're gonna extend the countertops in the Beyond. It will have a 110 outlet. It won't have a flip-up countertop, but it will have storage underneath. One thing here today is a lot of people are not a lot. We got 2 people here that have some issues up above the they call it the pizza oven now.
Right. I call it the attic.
Yep, the attic pizza oven. We want to enlarge that, and by enlarging that, we will be able to kind of put it together a lot better. I think in the past we used staples, and we should be using screws on anything automotive. The water pump switch back there. Kevin Ivey, who was a Beyond owner, gave us that idea. And then Steve Nordahl kept on touching it when he didn't mean to. So then now we're going to be doing a cap over it. So you got to kind of stick your finger in there to get it up and down. Remember the Firefly guy talking about a dog's tail all the time hitting the thing? That happened. A purse or a bag or whatever would hit.
I've hit it a few times.
Q foam. You know, a lot of customers are like, "Oh, Nick, the sofa." And then I took a nap on it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, my hips hurt." At the time, I think I was 47. I'm 50 now. So the Q foam was a big deal. I knew I would constantly get customers going, "Look, we love you. We love your product, but their chairs are that much better." Like, that much better over everything? Yeah. There's sticking points with every buyer. We're working on the curtain. I've gone through multiple renditions of that. We changed the shower head about 2 years ago because we needed a new shower head, and we went to the Oxygenics Fury.
That works great.
It does. Yeah. It does. Final thing is, in my office, I've got an air fryer. We're going to put it to a test and make sure it actually cooks the food the way it's advertised. You know, it doesn't matter if I put something in there that says convection. If it doesn't work right, then I'm probably going to get yelled at even worse. Lagoon locations. We put it over here for a while, then we started doing 2 brackets, and now our customers started asking for second brackets. Now we do 2 brackets. Screen door change from the white to the black. And then some people say, "Give me the white back." But people didn't like lifting up on that and letting it down and over. I haven't found the perfect screen. Roll off isn't my perfect screen. I still like my screen door at home. It works. It's always worked. Guys might disagree with me. The water management panel. So the Beyond used to have quite a few openings, and the Galleria Beyond and Nova are really clean on the outside. You have no hot water heater exposure. You don't have the refrigerator. You don't have the refrigerator vent. We're really clean. So cleaning up the 4 locations on the driver's side of the Beyond was huge. One of the first ones that when we built the Beyond, we didn't put a scallop in the running board to where the gate valve was. So then we had a gal send me a picture of the scratch on her hand. You know, heck, I'm going to be, 20 years, my skin's going to be a lot thinner than it is today.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah.
Clear caps on the...
I noticed that on
Yep.
the ones that are sitting over there.
My old boss like, what's going on with these clear caps? It's like, don't you want to know what's coming at you? He goes, oh, and he owned it. He goes, oh, I completely get it now.
Yeah.
He's like, I was just wondering how much. He goes, how much extra are you paying? I was like, 12 cents.
Yeah.
You know, you can get them anywhere.
And those handles, because it's not clear, but I did switch out to one with the handle. A lot easier.
Now, smart plug was something that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we walk around the campgrounds and we see all these RVs with the plastic bottle cap fitting.
Yep.
And it screws into the side of the van or the RV, the laminated side or stick and tin. And each time you skip a twist, like you over twist it and skip it, you're reducing the teeth of the thread. So going to smart plug, you get a very rigid. There's not much gravity to it because it's got an internal recep, so it sucks in instead of being clamped in. So that was something that some people wanted to see a little bit better. Hardware, I remember the first hardware we came out with, Miss Rhonda, she was a particular size, so that means her hips are a particular height. She would always grab her pant buckle on the T-handle, okay, you know, the T-handle hardware. So we went to a more radius. We're always listening. We're always listening, and we take it serious. There's some stuff we're not going to be able to do, and there's some stuff that is just for that individual.
You know, like a built-in wine bar. Right?
But we should look at everything. We should look at everything. So is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That sounds good. Well, I guess let's see. Do we want to kind of wrap it up now? Or
sure. All good. You're the boss.
Okay. And I'll edit this part out since I've still got it rolling there.
It's all good.
So I guess what would be, you know, what are kind of like some of the last, maybe your last, I guess, closing thoughts on, you know, just the B-vans in general, the industry, the, you know, what people should look for in a van.
You know, I touched on it, quality and sound. Always take a test drive. Okay. Always take a test drive. Always know what model you're buying. Be clear, especially right now in the industry during model change. One topic today in our conversation was get to know your local Dodge, Ford, and Mercedes dealership. Make sure they have the proper lifts. One of the things that happens is, let's say I live in downtown Houston and I own a Beyond, or a Galleria, or a Nova for that matter. I'm probably not going to get the type of service to get a van up in downtown Houston. If you've ever been to downtown Houston, you're probably going to have to go up 45 or 30-40 miles away. You might have to go out to Katy, where the dealerships are, where there's probably support, chassis support locations. Freightliner will be out there. They'll probably see an own. So get out of the city limits a little bit, but make sure you create those relationships. Check your tires. Make sure you're winterized. We'll be doing some winterization videos. Safety in numbers. Okay. Be patient. Don't be me. Don't get flustered. You're smart. Believe in yourself. You've gotten this far. You can get through some of these issues, and you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Sometimes we discount ourselves and we take away our accomplishments that we could be achieving. Let this be a tool for happiness. Just because you don't have a weekend plan doesn't mean you can't make a weekend, and it doesn't have to be Friday after work to Sunday till 8. I had a little guy, and I don't know his name. I hope to meet him again. I only see him at Tampa show, and he comes in, and you could tell he's just not your typical RVer. He's got a little Iron Man cap that he wears. He's about yay big, older gentleman, and 2 years ago he's like, I thought I had a kid or something, maybe in Florida a long time. I'm joking. You know, he pulls on my shirt. I was like, no, Dad. He goes, hey, you know, my name's so-and-so. I know you're busy. I need 12 seconds of your time. I never thought I would camp. My wife and I live in Florida. We bought one of your products. It has changed our life since we retired. I'm like, okay, that's your 12 seconds. Now I get 20 minutes.
Right.
Where are you going? He goes, well, fortunate we live in Florida. Texas is a lot alike. California, every state's got something to see. It might not be in such a condensed area. He goes, we have dates on Tuesday. We go to a local beach. We pick a new beach in our area every Tuesday. We don't go to the same one unless we fall in love. On Thursdays, we go bird watching. And on the weekends, we travel to any state park, and it's changed our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And man, when that happens, you know, a kid changed my life. Marriage changed my life. 50 kind of changed my life. This job changed my life.
Yeah.
But a product, so it's a tool. It's an
really
expensive
is.
tool.
Yeah.
Cordless drills right now cost more than they ever have. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, I remember we can get an old Sears job.
Yeah.
I'm not being light about the price point and the cost of it. It is an expenditure. But as long as you take care of it and maintain it, don't be me and I'm sorry, Olivia. I focused so much on my daughter the last couple years. This is a real influential time in her life, 9 years old. It's not easy to pick up the bass boat and go fishing with her.
Right.
It might be easier to take her to Nani's Pier and go fishing with her. So I've neglected my boat a little bit. I just power washed it the first time the other day in a year. While I was power washing this boat that I see every single day, I'm sitting there thinking, how can you ever lecture a customer on maintaining their vehicles if you don't do it the same? Because that's my passion and this is their passion. So don't be lazy like me. I'm saying that kind. This should be your baby.
Yeah.
You know, I walked in this van today and it looks crisp, clean, fresh. You know, it's all what you put into it.
Yeah.
Keep your investment.
Yeah.
Some of these vans are going to be worth a lot of money in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And have fun and make some new friends and buy from Coachman Class Bs. I think we do it the best.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't do the one thing the best, but I played baseball all my life, and my dad always wanted me to be a 5-tool player. I still don't know what that means, but I get it now.
Yeah.
Meaning you check all the boxes it requires to be a special player in this game. And, you know, like I said today, I want everybody to experience our customer experience. Now, if we get inundated with orders tomorrow, we'll have to hire a bunch of people. I'll have to talk to the higher-ups. But you get it.
Yeah.
It's a cool experience. And you know what? Other guys, Winnebago does a good job with their WIT club. Leisure Travel does a really good job with their... get in a group, regardless of what brand. You've heard enough about me.
Yeah.
You'll get to me eventually, okay? And even if you don't, apply those same principles to the products that you are buying in the B segment, and then make sure that they take care of you. You control this whole thing. We just know what you're expecting, so we expect what you're expecting right away. Right when you call. Like, okay, you want us to jump through this? We made a mistake. We're going to... How high do you need us to jump?
Right.
So if the other guys aren't doing that, like I said, I think earlier, we don't want that customer to buy a boat. We don't want them to buy a cabin. We don't want them to buy land down in Tennessee. You hear that on the radio all the time. We don't want them to take cruises 20 times a year. We want them in Class Bs, and we want to see them on the road. And the most honoring, the coolest thing is when you're traveling and you see something your people built and you're nowhere near Indiana.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I'll end it on this, okay? So we love Florida. My girls are kind of getting tired of Florida. I still love Florida. Just
even in the winter?
I know. They're going nuts on me. And so we're down in the Keys, and that's bee van heaven.
Right.
I mean, there's bees everywhere down there during that January, February, March. April, I think, is when they start coming back north. So my daughter, we're driving down from Lauderdale. Daddy, there's a W. What's that mean? What's I mean? What's ice stream? What are you? Give her a pill. You know, this is when she was a little younger.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I would never do that. Is that one yours? Is that one ours? So we're getting down there, and man, I'm whiffing. All of a sudden, I pull off the side of the road. I go, there's a Nova right there. And so, you know, everybody was tired. So I went back a couple days later, went and knocked on the door. Nobody was there. And then all of a sudden, a Galleria was in the back corner of this. And then we saw Beyond. And that's about all we saw. But fast forward I took my family to Ocala.
Yep.
And actually, we started our vacations, my kids' spring break that week, and I tried to bribe the school to move it spring break so it doesn't fall on this week, but it's cool. So we went down to Marco Island and did a couple days there, and then drove over to Ocala. And my daughter thought I was like the president of Florida. There's no president of Florida, right?
No.
But she's like, Daddy, there's a Beyond. Oh, there's one of those C cross. Yeah, there's a... And they're all coming in. 88 people are coming into the same place that we are. And, that's cool. Rhonda sends gifts to my little kid. My little girl has been talking to Rhonda Fitzpatrick since since Livy was sitting on my lap watching YouTube videos in my garage.
Right.
And, Dean's become a really good friend. I've gotten to know you. Got some Galleria folks, Mark Rosshaker Dutch, of course Bruce, Gardner, sweet people. I've improved my life, I think, by meeting all you as well, and it drives us.
Yeah.
And then it's really refreshing for my team to come here. And this is the funniest thing before that. Hey, do you know anybody from Louisiana, Nick? I know a lot of people from Louisiana. What's going on? Well, I've got this hot sauce, fish fry stuff. I go, well, have you recently talked to anybody about how much you love hot sauce, fish fry, and barbecue? Yeah, I talked to a Texan person a couple weeks ago. I think that's for you. And it happens every day, and they're like, what's going on? I go, look, it's different. Just remember that they give back too.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, to have that relationship, you're successful. We haven't won, but we're successful.
Yeah.
And we're looking to win more. And we got stiff competition. And that, it keeps you in line.
Yeah.
If you didn't have any competition, there are no boundaries, there are no guardrails.
And there's no fun. Yeah, and there's no standard to me to be like, well, this is what we have, and that's that. Yeah.
So again, we're young, we're trying, we're good listeners, we're really good at customer service, and we like serving great customers.
Yeah.
So you're more than welcome to join the team, and hit up Teresa if you got any questions.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. It's I'll talk about my van all day. So.
She knows her stuff, and that, some people at Ocala, a guy goes, do you think you can install doors that open like this instead of a slider?
Out here?
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, wow. Sure, I can talk to Ford about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got to do that. But, we're trying really hard, and we're good listeners, and we care. At the end of the day, we're all just simple people that want to get somewhere with our family, and,
But it is definitely life-changing. I mean, the experience, I'll tell you my very first experience. So I was telling you, I purchased my van from a couple that was selling it, and they were actually from Tennessee, but they were in San Jose.
Okay.
So I, get the financing all straight, and I have to get my plane ticket. So everything was like very quick. And I don't like to fly. So I'm on this crowded plane because everybody's on this flight. I'm in the middle seat, and I'm just like, all I could think of was, I can't wait to see this van. But I'm also thinking to myself, my God, what if I can't drive it? I've never, I've driven a Yukon or Suburban. I said, what if I can't drive it? What if I really hate it? What if I get this van and I just really hate the whole concept of being in an RV? All these thoughts in my head. So I get to the airport. Of course, they pick me up, and I remember standing there, and I see the van come around the corner, and it's just like, oh my God, it's real. It's like really there. And we went to a parking lot. We did all the paperwork. They walked me through things. And I get on my way. And so, and I've never been to San Jose. So, I'm going to get on the highway. First thing I did was I went to a Target, bought way too much stuff.
Oh yeah, that's no.
Yeah,
too much is, you got to get just right.
3-day trip, and got to have
right.
pots and pans, right? Like I'm not even going to cook anything.
Yep.
So I finally get on the highway, and I'm driving, and probably about 30 minutes driving, and I'm like, yeah, this is freaking awesome.
Yep.
And it just, the whole trip, like it's still, every trip I've taken has been awesome, but like that trip in particular, I still try to relive it in my mind. And the funny thing about it was, and I know they told me, but somewhere it didn't stick, that in order to use the water, you have to turn the water pump on.
Yep.
And so the first morning, I had stayed at a harvest host, and the guy was real nice, let me fill the tank. And I see water dripping out, and I'm like, oh God, I didn't do something right. Okay, I'm done, you know. Common. And I'm thinking, I have no idea how to put water in there, because the thing was still showing empty.
Yep.
And I, turned the faucet, and because the pump wasn't on, no water came out, and I'm like, how do you not know how to put water in this thing? And that's what I'm thinking. I have no water. So every truck stop, I'd buy gallons of water, and I finally get home and I realized I just had to turn the pump on. I had a full tank of water.
Yep. So.
Yeah, but it still was like the best trip.
And there's gonna be. It's not like the movie RV.
Right.
It can be if you don't maybe link up with some of these folks in the group.
Exactly.
Like you guys, we all teach each other.
Oh yeah.
Some of you find some things with the chassis that we've never even known that were even in there. So, strength in numbers, right? We talked about that last week. We talked about it today.
Yeah.
And lean on your friends. Lean on your travel friends. Yeah. And it's all good.
I mean, the Facebook groups are just awesome for.
Very
helpful. I mean, I learned so much before I got the van that aside from the water pump, I knew pretty much what all those controls were up there. Yep. And it just, I didn't feel like I was completely in the dark.
Gotcha.
And I, in fact, the shower curtain extender, I bought that before I even got the van, because I knew that was going to be the first mod.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been amazing.
Well,
I wouldn't trade it.
You're an amazing customer. Keep the challenges, the kind challenges coming. I've only got 2 sets of eyes in so many days.
Yeah.
And that goes for a lot of your fans too.
Oh, yeah.
You got some ideas for Teresa that you want her to get to me.
Yeah.
I take a look at them, and I got model change right on my top of my desk right now. Over to the board behind my sales guys, we got model change set up. So very exciting times.
Yeah.
The RV industry is going to be just fine. We're struggling a little bit, not necessarily us, but some of the other segments. We just got to get this country back going and people confident and having fun again and locking arms together more often, and we can have more fun together more often, right?
Yep, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
And next time I come to Texas, we're gonna meet up.
Yep, we'll go for some barbecue.
There you go. There you go.
Well, thanks.
So where do you live in Texas?
Frisco.
Okay.
Yeah, about 35 miles from Dallas, north.
I've got to find this restaurant that we would always make sure when we got off the plane at DFW and we took 183 into almost into North Fort Worth to go down to 35 to Cleburne. There was the most amazing pork chop place, and it had a $5 pork chop, and I got to figure out where this place is again, so I might need some help. The best Texas is funny, and Louisiana's a lot like Texas. If it is run down and it is smoking, it is not burning, you must get inside immediately and have lunch, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And that's one of those, I think it's like Piggly, it wasn't Piggly Wiggly. I'll think of it. I'll ask Tommy, because we used to go there all the time. But hey, thank you so much.
Well,
I appreciate
really appreciate
this, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Anything you need, we're here for you.
Awesome.
And thank you all.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Awesome. Finally on the channel.
Yeah.
All good.
Thanks.
Do you do a smash? What do we do? What's our sign-off?
I haven't really
Burning out?
Yeah. Frisco tea.
Frisco tea. I love that. Frisco tea out.
Yeah.
Yep. I forgot about that.